Forgiveness is not weakness. It is not forgetting. It is the moment a heart decides to release the chains of anger and pain. Throughout history, the act of forgiveness has rebuilt families, healed nations, and transformed individuals in ways once thought impossible. From ancient scripture to modern survivors, forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It rewrites the future. Picture this: a dimly lit path at dawn. A narrator's voice rises as the camera sweeps across a world wounded by grudges, betrayal, and injustice. We see people carrying invisible weights, memories of hurt they've never released. The music is soft, emotional, almost sacred. Then, one by one, lights pierce the darkness. A woman embracing the sister who abandoned her. A man shaking hands with the person who took everything from him. A child smiling through tears as he lets go of anger he carried too early in life. This is not fantasy. It is real. Forgiveness is not reserved for saints or heroes. It was lived by people of ancient faith, and it is alive today in ordinary individuals who chose a different ending than revenge. In this video, we journey through 10 powerful forgiveness stories that changed lives. Some pulled from sacred history, others born from modern tragedy and triumph. Each story confronts pain and rises above it. By the end, you won't see forgiveness the same way again. The desert wind swirls across the ancient land of Egypt. Joseph, once a dream-filled teenager, now stands robed in power as Pharaoh's right hand. Years earlier, his own brothers betrayed him, throwing him into a pit, selling him as a slave and leaving him for dead. Yet destiny took a different turn. The camera pans to a vast hall of stone pillars, where Joseph stands tall on a raised platform. The famine has spread across the land. His brothers, desperate and starving, enter without recognizing him. They kneel before the powerful leader, the very brother they betrayed. Joseph's eyes fill with unspoken memories. The cold of the pit, the chains around his wrists, the dust of the desert. The tension is cinematic, almost painfully quiet. He could have them imprisoned. He could let them starve. But instead, something extraordinary unfolds. Joseph sends away the guards. The great hall echoes with silence. He steps down from the platform, voice trembling. "I am Joseph, the brother you sold." Shock, fear, regret, then the unexpected. "Do not be afraid. What you meant for harm, God used for good. Come closer." We watch as Joseph falls into the arms of the very men who once destroyed his life. Tears mix with relief. The music swells. Forgiveness becomes a revolution in real time. This was not just the reunion of a family. It was the moment history itself shifted, because one man refused to let bitterness win. A golden sunset spills across a dusty road. The camera follows a young man in torn sandals, his clothes dirty and worn. His eyes carry shame, regret, and exhaustion. This is the prodigal son, broken by his own choices. He once left home full of arrogance, demanding his inheritance early. He wasted everything on reckless living. When famine struck, all that remained was hunger, humiliation, and the echo of his father's voice in his memory. With trembling steps, he walks back home, rehearsing his apology. "Father, I am no longer worthy to be called your son." Each word feels heavier than the last. Cut to his father, an older man sitting outside, watching the horizon like he has every day since his son left. Suddenly his heart stops. In the distance, a familiar figure appears. He doesn't wait. The camera follows the father sprinting, robes flying, sandals kicking dust, tears streaming. Before the son can finish his apology, the father wraps him in an embrace that breaks the silence of years. "Bring the best robe. Prepare a feast. My son was lost and now he is found. There is no resentment, no lecture, no conditions. Only love reborn. Forgiveness here is not earned, it is offered." It does not erase the mistake, but it restores the relationship. The prodigal thought he was coming home in shame. Instead, he was welcomed in grace, and in that moment, forgiveness didn't just change a life, it resurrected one. It was an ordinary autumn morning in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, until tragedy shattered the silence. A gunman entered a small Amish schoolhouse and took the lives of young girls before ending his own. The world watched in horror as news spread across every screen, but what happened next stunned millions. Just hours after the shooting, Amish families visited the home of the gunman's widow. They brought food. They spoke words of compassion. They attended the shooter's funeral. They embraced his parents, One Amish father said, "We must forgive. If we don't, the darkness wins twice." The scene unfolds with soft music and golden evening light. We see black buggies lined along a quiet country road, mothers in white bonnets walking slowly with dignity, men speaking gently, not with hatred but with sorrow and grace. There were no protests, no revenge, only forgiveness, real, painful, and costly. One reporter, visibly shaken, said, "I've never seen anything like it. It's forgiveness in motion." Their forgiveness did not deny pain. It transformed it. It didn't erase the memory. It redeemed the meaning. In a world addicted to retaliation, these families showed a different way, mercy in the face of mourning. Their act of grace rippled through communities, churches, and nations. People who lost everything chose to release hatred and protect their hearts from bitterness. In the aftermath of unthinkable violence, forgiveness became their act of resistance and their legacy. The concrete walls of Robben Island prison once held a man the world called a threat, Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he endured isolation, hard labor, and humiliation under the apartheid regime. He could have emerged angry, hardened, and ready for vengeance. Instead, he chose forgiveness. Imagine the scene cinematically, the prison gates sliding open, the sky bright and wide. Mandela steps out, older but unbroken. His posture is calm, his face peaceful. The cameras click. Reporters wait for words of anger. But what they hear instead changes history. As I walked out the door, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. Years later, as president of South Africa, he extended an invitation to one of his former prison guards. The guard, shocked and humbled, attended Mandela's inauguration as an honored guest. Mandela didn't erase the injustice, he rose above it. The images are powerful. A former prisoner shaking hands with his captor, both seated in the same hall of freedom they once stood on opposite sides of. The world watched in disbelief. His forgiveness was not soft. It was strategic. It dismantled hate without a single shot fired. It reminded his nation, and the world, that healing begins when someone chooses to break the cycle. Mandela changed a country not by conquering his enemies, but by forgiving them. War had already taken so much from Corrie ten Boom and her family. During World War II, they hid Jewish refugees in their Dutch home, risking everything. Eventually, they were discovered and imprisoned in a concentration camp. Corrie's sister, Betsy, died there from the brutality. Years later, after the war, Corrie shared messages of hope and forgiveness across Europe. One evening, after speaking at a church in Germany, a man approached her, smiling nervously, hand outstretched. She froze. He was one of the guards from the camp, one of the men responsible for her sister's suffering. Memories surged like icy wind. His words were soft. "Fräulein, I've become a Christian. I know God has forgiven me, but I need to hear it from you." The camera would zoom in on Corrie's face, torn between past trauma and present faith. Her hand trembles. Her heart races. She wants to pull away. Then she remembers her sister's words before dying. "There is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still." With visible struggle, she reaches out and takes his hand. "I forgive you," she whispers. In that moment, forgiveness becomes an act of courage, not comfort. Corrie later said, "I felt the power of God move through me as I forgave. It was not my own strength." This story reminds us, forgiveness is sometimes a miracle we choose before we feel. The sky darkens over Golgotha. A crowd gathers beneath a wooden cross stained with blood. Soldiers stand guard, indifferent. Some mock, others weep. The world has never seen a more unjust moment. Jesus hangs between two thieves, beaten, humiliated, pierced. The camera captures the agony in slow motion. Trembling hands, a crown of thorns, a back torn by whips. The air is thick with silence and disbelief. Then, through shattered breath, he speaks. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." It is a moment that halts time. The very people who hammered the nails, who shouted, "Crucify him," are the ones he pleads for. He does not curse, accuse, or threaten. Amid torture, he gives what no one asked for: mercy. The camera would pan to the faces around him. A Roman soldier lowering his weapon in shock. A grieving mother holding back tears. A criminal beside him turning his head with new understanding. This act of forgiveness did not wait for an apology. It was offered at the height of pain, not after the healing. The world would remember his words for centuries. They became the foundation of grace, the challenge to resentful hearts, the standard of divine love. Forgiveness in its purest form does not deny suffering. It transcends it. On that hill, forgiveness wasn't a concept. It was a sacrifice, nighttime, flashing red and blue lights, twisted metal, a road slick with rain and tears. A young mother receives the call no one is prepared for. Her teenage son has been killed by a drunk driver. The world collapses in a single sentence. At the trial, she sits silently, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the man responsible. He's only 22, terrified, guilty, and broken. Everyone expects anger. Instead, something different unfolds. During her statement to the court, her voice is steady but full of emotion. "You took my son's life," she says. The courtroom holds its breath. Then she continues, "But I refuse to let hate take mine." The camera would move in as she looks directly at him. "I forgive you, not because what you did is small, but because my heart cannot carry this weight forever." The judge is stunned. Reporters scramble for words. The young man breaks down, overwhelmed by a mercy he never imagined. Months later, she visits him in prison. They talk. She learns his story, not to excuse, but to understand. Over time, she helps advocate for his rehabilitation, not his destruction. Her forgiveness does not dismiss justice. It transforms it. She said in an interview, "I chose forgiveness to honor my son. Bitterness would have buried me with him." Her choice became a story shared by millions, not because it was easy, but because it was rare. In a war-torn village in Rwanda, two men stand face to face in a dirt courtyard surrounded by silence and memory. One is a survivor, the other is the man who murdered his family during the genocide. For years, hatred grew like fire inside the survivor's heart. Every night he saw their faces. Every day he dreamed of revenge. But when a reconciliation program began in their region, something unexpected happened. The man who committed the murders asked to meet him. The scene is quiet but intense. Their feet in the dirt, the sky muted and gray. The killer falls to his knees and confesses with tears. No excuses, no defense, only sorrow. The survivor says nothing. Days pass. Then one morning he returns. The camera would follow him as he approaches the man who once destroyed his life. "I cannot bring them back," he says, "but I cannot live as a prisoner to rage." He extends his hand. The world seems to stop. The man he forgave is overwhelmed, shaking. They begin working together in rebuilding the village, not as friends, but as men committed to a future without blood. This forgiveness is not naive. It carries scars, but it also carries strength. When a journalist asked him why he forgave, he answered quietly, "Because I wanted to stop dying with them." Forgiveness didn't change the past, but it rescued the present. Forgiveness is not a single moment. It's a turning point. Across every story, from ancient scrolls to modern headlines, forgiveness redefines what power looks like. It is the strength to face pain without becoming it. It is the courage to release someone, not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Imagine the closing shots. Joseph weeping in a hall of stone as he embraces his brothers. A father running across a field toward a son once lost. Amish mothers standing outside a house of mourning, extending hands instead of hatred. Mandela shaking hands with his jailer beneath the African sky. Corrie ten Boom whispering forgiveness through tears to a former guard. A mother in a courtroom choosing healing over hate. A survivor in Rwanda offering his hand to the man who shattered his world. And the cross, where forgiveness rewrote eternity. The narrator's voice returns. Forgiveness does not erase the wound. It frees the soul carrying it. As the music rises, the screen fades into soft light. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is choosing a future over a prison of memory. It is refusing to let someone else's actions control your destiny. It is the unexpected ending to stories written in pain. And sometimes, it is the only way to begin again. When people forgive, the world changes, one heart at a time.